Hi everyone, welcome to our Facebook Live today. And the topic that we're going to talk about today is, what do you do when your teen disobeys? So you have talked about a topic, it's clear what your opinion is and what you think, and that whatever they're doing is not okay, and they still did it. So the reason I came up with this, though, you know what, let me take a second, and before I get started, for those of you who don't really know who I am, my name is Tova Gar, and I'm an expert at working with teens and their parents, helping them navigate the teen years and all the challenges of what it means to be a teen. If you guys remember what it was like to be a teen, it's not an easy time, and if you're a parent of teens, you know it can be extremely challenging. And so my goal is to try to help you navigate these years successfully and easily as much as possible. And I specialize also at specifically the challenges around social media. So I apologize if there's a little noise in the background. I'm not the only one here. I'm traveling, so that's part of what it means. And the reason that I'm talking to you about this today is because as I was traveling, I had an unexpected layover in Salt Lake City and met a friend of mine. And as we were catching up on life and what's going on, one of the things she shared with me was what was going on with her son, who is into gaming, and one of the things that he was playing with and had been, engaged in was anime, and they've been very clear in their family that this is not okay. Now, there's no judgment here, by the way, ever on the choices that you make as a family on what is okay and not okay, but in their family it was clear that this was not acceptable. Okay, he knew, they had a conversation about it, it was discussed, and she found out, we're not going to get into the whole story now, you can see it on my blog post today, but basically she found out that he had been lying to her and had kind of roped in his siblings to help cover it up. She was very upset, she was disappointed, she was upset with him, her anger came out, and the way she decided to deal with it was, sit and figure out the consequences, and she had pretty strict consequences on, as a result, there's no gaming, there's no anything that has to do with online for quite a while. Now, there's nothing wrong with, in fact, it's good that she has decided to deal with it, that there are consequences. The consequences are actually appropriate for the actions and for the crime, so to speak, but here is what I want you to hear. Here's the challenge. The challenge is that the way she went about it is missing a very key piece, which is the piece that actually is going to get her son to learn from this experience. So what I see often when I work with parents is two different things. On the one hand, I see parents who avoid conflict pretty much at any cost. They don't like conflict, they don't like to fight with their kids, they don't like when their kids fight back with them. And so even if their kids are doing something that they don't think that they should be doing, or that clearly they have said you shouldn't do, they'll kind of wishy-wash around it and won't deal with it. And there are a lot of different reasons for that. Don't judge yourself if you are one of those. You can always change it, okay? But doing that is essentially telling your teen whatever you're doing is fine. No matter what you're saying in words, your actions speak much louder than words. That's one thing that I see a lot. The other one is parents that get really upset, are always on top of it, but go straight for the punishment, right? You did something wrong, here's the result, moving on. And while I appreciate and think it's great to be taking action, what you're missing in this process of taking action, okay, is that you're missing one second. Oh, this is pretty funny. Sometimes Facebook Live can be pretty challenging. I'm trying to help see who's online with me. Well, whoever you are online, happy to have you. And so the challenging part of just swooping in, deciding what the consequence is that your kid doesn't actually learn from it. What really does happen in this process? First of all, when you're being triggered, right? You're being triggered by whatever action it is that they did, especially if you've talked about it, because you're like, we talked about this. You know that you shouldn't be doing this. This can be really, really frustrating, and even feel like a sense of betrayal, right? Because we've talked about it. You understood, why this was important to us as a family, why it is not good for you, whatever the situation is. And what I'm going to recommend that you do is that you actually take a step back And remember that in moments like this, it's not actually about you and about your feelings. Okay, but we'll get back to that in a second. So you're functioning from your anger, your disappointment, whatever it is that's coming up for you. Your teen, when you choose to go straight from the action to the consequences and move on, what they're actually hearing and learning from you, you may be surprised to hear, is I don't get caught again, right? It's not don't do it again. It's don't get caught again. In the case that I shared in my blog post this morning, where the reason my friend found out is she found out from her daughter, is don't trust your little sister to keep your secrets, right? And make sure that you're smarter about it next time. That's what your teen is learning. They're not actually learning why this is so important for you to not engage, you know, in whatever it is they did again. That's not what they're getting. That's not what they're hearing. Okay, they're hearing, I got caught. How do I not get caught again? So what am I suggesting, and how could you do it differently to actually be effective? Because what I believe that you want, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but what I believe that you want is you want your child to understand why what they did was wrong, why this was problematic on multiple levels, both in terms of breaking your trust, both in terms of actually taking an action that is not a good idea, and last, making sure that they really don't do this again, right? These are all things that are really important. So this is what I suggest that you do. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to look at your own reaction. I want you to look at how you are feeling in the moment when you find out that your teen is doing something that you clearly told them not to do. Take a moment and step to the side if you need to. All right, I always say go to the bathroom, you know, pretend you have a call in the other room, whatever it is that you need to do to remove yourself from the situation. So what you're doing in that moment is not blowing up at your child, because trust me, it's not effective, right? You may feel good about it. Most of the time you won't feel good about it afterwards. Just step away, process the feelings that you're feeling, be clear on actually how this is making you feel. It's a good exercise for you, and it's a good example for your child afterwards to identify what the feelings are really are that are coming up. Once you've done that, remind yourself of what is your actual goal. So what do you want to achieve when you approach a conversation with your teen? Do you want them to not do it again? Do you want them to understand why this is a problem? Do you want them to, pay for the crime, right? Do you want them to learn in a different kind of way? What is it that's important to you? Figuring out what's important to you will then determine how you have the next part of the conversation. And what I suggest you do in the next part is actually not go straight for the consequences. Consequences will come. They are important. If you don't have consequences, then your teen is not actually learning that they need to do things differently and that there are results to their actions, which is a really important thing that you should be teaching your teens, which is that there are results to the actions that they take. Right? Where they are developmentally, they are geared towards taking risks. They are geared to making mistakes. They are geared to, in the heat of the moment, acting on impulse. That is what they're geared towards doing at this point in their lives. And so helping them through this process, having consequences, having them understand that there are results to the choices that they make is actually something really important for you to be teaching them at this time of life. But there's time for consequences and there's time for conversation. And what you want to remember is that if you had an explicit conversation with your teen about why not to do something, and they did it anyhow, there's a reason. There's a reason they did it. Okay? Sometimes it'll be impulse, but most of the time it's because they loved it, or they thought it was really important, or they thought that you may have expressed why you think this is a bad idea, but they actually can't see it. They don't see why it's a bad idea. So they they feel like you're not understanding them or you're not listening to them. Maybe in the initial conversation, right, they didn't feel heard. So this is the time to figure that out. This is the time to sit and ask, so what didn't I get, right? I love that question. I ask it to the teens that I work with all the time. What did I not get, right? What did I not understand? Because clearly if you made the choice to do something against an agreement that we made, or against an explicit, request on my part for you not to engage in this kind of behavior, and you did it anyhow, clearly there's something that I missed. So what is it that I missed? Why is this so important to you? Ask the questions, you'll get the answers. And even if you get a grunt or you get a I don't know, take a deep breath, wait patiently, and give them time to share with you what it is that's going on, because there is a reason. There is a reason that they're doing this. There's a reason that they've made this choice. And so even if it's going to take them a little bit of time to articulate it, even for themselves, give them the time to do so and find out what is underneath the choice to disobey you. That'll give you a tremendous amount of information. It'll give you information about the actual action right now, and it'll give you information about where they are right now, what they're thinking about the future, and other things that might be going on in their lives. Once you've gone through that process of really figuring it out, and this is one of the things that I talk about in a longer course for parents that I do, because life is life. It doesn't happen in a one-shot deal, definitely not in 10 minutes on Facebook Live. Is to talk about how to have these conversations, right? How to get your teen to talk to you about the real stuff, not the fake stuff, but the real stuff. So once you've had this conversation and you've kind of gotten an idea about what's really going on for them, why they made this choice, and again, in a calm space, in a neutral space, not when you're bringing up all your anger and your frustration and your disappointment, you can then go on to talking about how you feel about their choice, right? And I want you to notice the way I'm wording this, how you feel about their choice, okay? And you can share with them. You can share with them that you feel disappointed or you feel betrayed, or whatever it is that's coming up for you and is true for you. There's no right answer here. And once you've done that, then you engage in a conversation and saying, okay, so what now, right? We both know that you've done something that you shouldn't have been doing, right? Whether you thought that I was wrong by asking you not to do it, whether you think this was a stupid idea, or that I just don't get it, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You were very clear on the fact that this was something that you shouldn't have been doing, and you did it anyhow. So if that's the case, and so what happens? What's the consequence? And you always want to make sure that the consequences that you choose are directly related to the action, right? One of the things that I see all the time, and I wish you guys would stop doing it, is that parents today, because kids are so attached to their phones, the automatic is you take away their phone, right? They didn't clean up their room, you take away their phone. They didn't do the dishes, you take away their phone. They were late for curfew, you take away their phone. Totally not effective. Trust me, they're not learning anything by you taking away their phone. They just think you even more don't get them. They get really pissed and they are determined to hide whatever it is that they're doing because they don't want you to take away their phone. Not effective. Think about what it is that they did, and then think about what it is that you can then do to help them really understand. Okay, they've got to be directly related and connected, and a conversation about consequences for another Facebook Live. It's not for today, but really make sure that they're directly related, and then and have that conversation not as, okay, so I'm the parent and I thought about it and here are the consequences, but rather, let's talk about it together, right? You're old enough to have made the choice, right, to do something different than I asked you to do. Now you're old enough to think about what are going to be the results of your actions. Make it a conversation. Don't make it a, I'm going to tell you what to do, because teens, as soon as you tell them this is what you have to do, or this is what it needs to look like, are gonna push back. They shut down. They don't listen. They'll go through the motions just to make you happy, but you're not actually going to achieve anything that you want to be achieving. Okay, so take the time, have an open conversation, ask them what they think is appropriate. If they come up with something that you think is not related or isn't really connected, or isn't a reflection of how serious it is of an action that they took, say it. Say, do you really think that that's, serious enough given how serious it is what you did? Engage in a real conversation, in a meaningful conversation. And if you need to, then you will be the one who comes up with a consequence. But a lot of times I find that teens will actually come up with something that's a lot more severe than you would have thought of. So try it out, see what happens. And what I can tell you is that if this is done in the process that I've just described, you are much more likely to get cooperation at the end of it. Okay, they're much more likely to follow through on the consequences. And what it does is, going through this process has them go through the process of thinking of, why did I make the choice that I did? Right? Even if they stand behind the choice that they made. Why did I do it? What are the results of it? And would I do it again? Okay? Was it worth it? Should I have done it? How could I have done it differently? Like for one example is if you find out, or they find out that really the reason that they did it is because they felt unheard by you. Well, you're creating an opportunity for them to be heard, and you're creating an understanding that next time maybe they can just come talk to you and help you understand what clearly you didn't understand the first time, and that's an option versus just doing whatever it is that they want, right? So I see we have a few people online, so if you have any questions, feel free to type them. I'm gonna see if I connect through my computer so I can see any comments, because for some reason they're not showing up on my little phone here. But if not, you can post questions afterwards. I'm happy to answer them. But this is the process that I really recommend that you go through. There we go. This is the process that I recommend that you go through if you are interested and want your team to really learn from their experience. Again, this doesn't mean that you're not going to be disappointed. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have a hard time with the choice that they made. It doesn't mean that you're not going to feel betrayed. All that is completely true. But when you bring that into the conversation, you're not actually helping your team get to where you want to. So I hope this was helpful for you today. We're going to be doing a lot more trainings here on From Girls to Women and Facebook Live. So if you have a topic you want me to talk about, feel free to post it on the page, and I will do my best to answer your questions. You can always reach out to me personally here on the page or through email at tova@tovagar.com. Have a wonderful day, night, wherever you are around the world. And if you are in Seattle and would like to see me or come to one of the workshops that I'm doing, just reach out to me. That's where I'm going to be next week, in LA right now, but leaving today. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!